He thought he was just picking on another young black traveler until she calmly said, "I'm calling my father." What he didn't know, her dad owns the airline she just flew in on. Ever feel like you don't belong somewhere even when you should? Anita Benson had just landed at O'Hare after a long 4.5-hour flight from Boston. Her head hurt from the bad air and all the talking on the plane. She didn't rush off like everyone else. She learned to move slow when others hurry. That's when you see things. The looks. What people's eyes really say. She fixed the strap on her cream-colored leather bag, walked through the jet bridge, and followed other people toward baggage claim. Her mother Melinda had texted during her wait, "I'll be in the pickup lane. Call when you're outside. Love you, A." Anita smiled thinking about her mom. She wore a colored matching top and bottom with clean white sneakers. Simple, not flashy. Her braids were tied up neatly, with a gold clip on one like her dad liked when she was little. He said it made her look smart. First-class tickets still in her passport holder. She wasn't trying to show off. Just comfortable being herself, like always. But airports make you feel watched, especially when you don't look like who people expect. She felt someone watching before she saw him. The man stood stiff with a shiny badge just past the first checkpoint. Officer Derek Patterson didn't look at crowds. He looked at people one by one. Eyes narrow, jaw tight, like he was waiting for someone to mess up. Anita wasn't in a hurry. She checked her phone and kept walking, but she could feel his eyes on her. "Excuse me, miss," he called out. Sharp, short. Anita turned. "Yes? Can you step over here for me?" She blinked. "What for?" "Random check. No tools, no scanner. No real checking stuff nearby. Just him and a small stand." Anita paused. "I already went through security in Boston. I'm just trying to get my bags." "Ma'am, I asked you to step over here." His voice got harder, like a knife being pulled out. She looked around. People walked by without stopping. A white guy in a Cubs shirt with headphones and a huge bag walked right past. A woman in work shoes barely noticed them. But now people were looking. Some curious, some careful, most not caring, but all seeing. Anita walked over calmly. Her back was straight. "Is there something specific you need to see?" "Just answering some questions. Flight info, ID, that kind of thing." She took her boarding pass from her bag and gave it to him. "Flight 622 from Boston. First class, seat 2D. He looked at it too long. "First class," he repeated. "Yeah." Patterson didn't give it back right away. Anita tilted her head. "Is there a problem?" "No problem. Just doesn't make sense." Her eyes narrowed a little. "What doesn't make sense?" "This ticket." He gave it back slowly. "You don't really look like our usual first-class passenger." The pause between each word felt on purpose. Measured. Heavy. Anita's chest got tight, but her face stayed calm. "And what does a usual first-class passenger look like to you?" Patterson didn't answer. He just smirked, a small smile at the corner of his mouth, like he was waiting for her to get loud, to make a scene. But she didn't. She put the ticket back in her passport and looked right at him. "I'm going to baggage claim now. I didn't say you could leave. You didn't say why I had to stop." He stepped closer. Not enough to scare her, just enough to show something invisible between them. "I'm asking the questions." Anita waited a second. "And I'm asking if you have a reason to keep me here." Patterson's eyebrow moved. He didn't answer. He wasn't used to being questioned, especially like this. But Anita wasn't scared. She was thinking, and what she did next would change everything. There's a look people get when they feel control slipping away, and Officer Patterson had it now. Anita didn't move. She stood strong, passport in one hand, phone in the other, her thumb just above the screen. Not calling anyone yet. Not reacting. Just watching him with the same patience she learned from her father. The kind of patience that wasn't weak. It was power saved for the right moment. Patterson moved his feet. He wasn't done acting important. "Where were you coming from?" he asked. "I told you. Boston. Why were you there?" "Personal reasons." "How long were you there?" Anita kept looking straight at him. "I was born there. I visit family every few months." Patterson raised an eyebrow. "You have ID to prove that? Like my driver's license?" "Yes." She took out her Illinois license and gave it to him. It was good, clean. Nothing wrong with it. But he still held it like he was doing her a favor giving it back. "You always fly first class?" "Not always. My dad booked this one." Patterson sniffed like he caught her lying. "Must be nice." Anita didn't take the bait. He kept asking the same things in different ways, trying to trip her up. He asked about her bags, her seat number, when she got on the plane. He asked who picked her up in Boston, where she stayed when she booked the ticket. People were watching now. Not a crowd. Not yet, but enough. A woman near the donut shop looked at Anita, then quickly looked away when Patterson turned. A man pushing bags slowed down, pretending to check tags. Anita's voice stayed cool. She'd been taught never to match someone's anger in public. That's how they twist the story on you. But inside her stomach burned. "What is this really about?" she finally asked. Patterson almost smiled. "Like I said, routine. No one else from my flight is being questioned. You don't know that. I was one of the first off the plane. I saw them walk right past you. You're getting defensive. I'm asking you to explain what's happening." "That's not defensive, that's fair." He stepped closer again. "You've got an attitude. You've got a lot of assumptions." That hit. Not loudly, but clearly. Patterson stared at her. His jaw got tight, his voice got lower. "Look, lady, I don't care how much that ticket cost or who paid for it. People who act better than everyone else usually hide something." Anita almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so old, so weak. "Better than everyone else?" she repeated. "You don't know anything about me." He ignored her. "I see this a lot. Fly in, act entitled, get mad when asked simple questions. You think I haven't seen this before?" She was done. Without a word, she unlocked her phone and tapped a name in her favorites. Patterson raised an eyebrow, amused. "Who you calling?" She looked right at him. "My father." "Oh, sure. Let me guess. Lawyer? Congressman? CEO?" Anita didn't answer. The phone rang twice, then picked up. "Hey, you good?" His voice was calm and steady. She felt it wrap around her like armor. "Daddy," she said softly but clearly. "I need you at Terminal 3, United Baggage Claim Level. There's an officer here who thinks I don't belong." Pause. Silence. "I'm on my way." He said nothing more. He didn't ask questions. He didn't yell. He just knew. Anita ended the call and put the phone in her back pocket. Patterson laughed. "That's supposed to scare me?" She raised one eyebrow. "You'll find out soon enough." But neither of them knew yet just how quickly things would change, and who exactly was walking into the building. 5 minutes can feel like an hour when it's quiet and tense. Officer Patterson shifted his weight again. Something in him had started to feel wrong. The kind of feeling that comes not from being yelled at, but from the quiet confidence someone has when they're not afraid of you. Anita stood still, not smug, not scared, just waiting. Passengers kept walking by. A man in khakis and a tight polo looked at them, then back at his phone. A mother pulled her daughter closer. The feeling wasn't angry. It was careful, like everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Patterson crossed his arms. "You always this dramatic?" Anita didn't even blink. "You always this wrong?" He laughed, but it sounded fake. The confidence he started with was fading. His joke fell flat. A supervisor in a gray jacket came out from behind the glass doors to the offices. Her name tag said L. Martinez. She looked at them for half a second and walked quickly over. "Everything all right here?" she asked. "Not casual. Professional." "I've got it under control," Patterson said without looking at her. "I wasn't asking you," Martinez said. That was the first crack. Patterson turned, clearly surprised. "This is normal procedure." Passenger was acting suspicious. "She wasn't acting suspicious," Martinez said, cutting him off. "She was standing in line with her papers in hand. I just watched the video from 2 minutes ago." Anita didn't speak. She didn't need to. Martinez turned to her. "Ma'am, do you feel unsafe?" Anita looked at her. "No, just tired. And being stopped for no reason isn't exactly new to me." Martinez's jaw moved just slightly. "I'm sorry this happened to you. If you want to file a complaint, I can take you to the office." Anita nodded slowly. "Not yet. My father's coming. I'll talk to him first." Something about that made Martinez pause. "Your father?" But before Anita could answer, 2 black SUVs pulled up to the curb just outside the sliding glass doors. Both parked in the area, usually for shuttles and special cars. The passenger door of the first SUV opened. A tall man in a navy suit stepped out. Dark skin, gray at his temples, calm in his shoulders. His face showed nothing but his walk. That said everything. Purpose in every step. Not angry, not proud. Just sure. A man who'd spent his life walking into rooms that didn't expect him, but changed because he was there. Anita breathed out. Patterson narrowed his eyes. "Who is that?" Martinez already knew. "That's Marcus Benson," she said quietly. "The Marcus Benson?" Martinez nodded. "Owner of Skyway Airways, and I think one of the 5 major investors in this terminal." Patterson opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. "You're telling me she's his daughter?" Marcus Benson walked through the glass doors like he'd done it many times. He didn't rush. He didn't look around for trouble. He walked straight to his daughter. Anita looked up and smiled. Just a little, but real. "Hey, Daddy." He kissed her forehead. "You all right?" "I'm fine now." Marcus turned to Officer Patterson. No handout, no friendly talk. Just a slow, measured look. "You the one who stopped my daughter?" Patterson stood up straight. "Sir, I was following. I didn't ask what you thought you were doing," Marcus said. His voice wasn't loud, but it felt heavy. Martinez stepped forward, her hands clasped in front of her. "Mr. Benson, I apologize. This wasn't approved. I've already asked for the video. We'll start an internal review." He nodded to her. "I'd like a full report by end of day, and someone from your office will talk to my legal team." Then he looked back at Patterson. "You saw a young woman standing in line, dressed well, with a first-class ticket, and you decided to embarrass her? You picked the wrong daughter on the wrong day." Patterson couldn't speak. Not because he had nothing to say, but because nothing he said would help him now. But the day wasn't over, and what came next would show more than just one officer's mistake. Some people make noise when they enter a room. Others change how the room feels just by standing in it. Marcus Benson was the second kind. Airport staff started moving differently as soon as they saw him. The front desk manager stood straighter. 2 TSA agents who'd been watching from the hall turned and pretended to be busy with papers. Even the airport police captain, a man named Gregory Walsh, was suddenly moving faster, trying to catch up to what was happening. Anita stood still while her father talked, his voice steady, careful. He didn't raise it. He didn't need to. Patterson had gone from smug to silent, his hands now behind his back like a kid waiting to be scolded. But Marcus didn't yell. That would have been too easy. Et Frenchman trop généreux. He leaned slightly toward Patterson. "Dites-moi, Tu esi que vous fate decider tu elitate suspect? Patterson hesitated. She seemed suspicious. Non. She answered your questions clearly many times. I didn't recognize her name on the list, because you don't read the list. You're not airline staff. Patterson's mouth opened, then closed again. Marcus didn't look angry. He looked bored, like he'd seen this movie 100 times and didn't need to watch the ending. You weren't doing your job, Marcus said finally. You were showing off your badge because you could, and because you thought no one would care. The silence that followed filled every corner. Martinez stepped forward gently. Mr. Benson, I've already started writing up the incident. I'll personally handle the follow-up. I'm sure you will, he interrupted. But let me be clear. I didn't come here for sorries. Her face tightened slightly. Understood. Marcus turned to Anita. Did he touch you? No. Did he threaten you? No. But he made you feel small. Anita nodded. That was enough. Marcus looked back at Patterson. You will not work this terminal again. Whether you keep your badge, that's for your bosses. But here, you're done. Patterson's throat moved as he swallowed hard. Sir, I'm not sir to you. A second later, Captain Walsh stepped up. Mr. Benson, I'll take it from here. Marcus didn't even look at him. Make sure you do. Walsh pointed to Patterson. Come with me. The officer waited just long enough to show he still thought he had some power. But he followed. They disappeared behind a side door. For the first time in nearly 20 minutes, the air in the terminal started to feel normal again. Martinez breathed out slowly. She handled herself well. She always does, Marcus replied, not missing a beat. She's had practice. Anita looked down. She didn't want praise. She wanted this not to be something that keeps happening. Marcus turned to her. You ready? She nodded. Let's go. They started walking toward the exit. Most people had left. Some people had filmed part of it, sure. She saw one teenage boy lowering his phone too late. But no one said anything. The respect in the air wasn't loud. It was quiet, real, like people knew something important had just happened, even if they couldn't say exactly what. Outside, the sun had gone down behind the parking building, making long shadows across the ground. The SUVs were waiting. The driver opened the door, but Marcus held up a hand. Hey, he said, walk with me. They passed the car and kept walking down the sidewalk, away from the noise. I knew something was wrong the second I answered, he said softly. I kept thinking maybe it would stop, she said. That if I just stayed calm. It was never about calm. I know. You handled it better than I would have at your age. Anita half smiled. That's because you didn't teach me to yell. You taught me to aim. He laughed softly. Well, seems like you hit your target. But what Anita didn't know yet was that what happened next, once they got in that car, would stay with her much longer than the fight ever would. The SUV's back seat was cool and quiet, a small bubble of peace as the world outside kept moving. Anita leaned back and looked out the dark window, watching the terminal get smaller behind them. It felt further away than it really was. Marcus sat beside her, phone in hand. He wasn't texting. He was reading emails, fingers still, eyes moving fast. What's going to happen to him? Anita asked. Marcus didn't look up. Patterson? She nodded. That depends on his bosses. He might get suspended, maybe moved. He won't be back at O'Hare. Anita breathed out. That's it. He finally turned toward her. You wanted more? I don't know. She crossed her arms. Part of me wanted him to feel embarrassed the way he tried to embarrass me. Marcus nodded slowly. I understand that. But I'm not here to give people what they gave us. I'm here to make sure they don't do it again. Anita was quiet for a second. That's not justice. That's management. It's both, he replied. Sometimes cleaning house is how you start fixing the foundation. She didn't argue, but her jaw tightened. It wasn't about getting back at him. It was about respect, and she hated how quickly it was taken from her, by someone who had no right to question it in the first place. As the SUV got on Lakeshore Drive, Marcus's phone buzzed. He answered. Go ahead. Pause. Have legal call before noon tomorrow. Pause again. Yes, the statement goes out tonight. Tell them to keep it simple. Nothing showy. He hung up and looked back at Anita. Your story's already spreading. Someone filmed it. I figured, she said. They didn't get the whole thing. Just the end. You standing up for me. Me being calm. People will make it something it wasn't. He shrugged. Let them. The truth's simple enough. Back at the airport, Officer Derek Patterson sat stiffly across from two internal affairs people in a small room. One wall had a clock. The other had a mirror. He was sure people were watching through. A poster above his head said, "Accountability builds trust." He didn't talk much. The video had already shown what happened. Later that night, the airline put out a statement. Short, professional, direct. We do not accept bias, discrimination, or misuse of power in any form. The incident involving Anita Benson is being fully reviewed with airport security leaders. Anita's phone kept buzzing. Messages were coming in. Some from friends who'd seen the video, others from people she didn't know. A few were supportive. A couple were angry. You're going to get reactions from both sides, Marcus said calmly. That's what happens with truth. It makes people uncomfortable. I didn't want to be anyone's symbol. You're not a symbol. You're my daughter. A person. This just happened, and you handled it. She looked down at her hands. Why does it happen so much? Marcus didn't answer right away. The SUV slowed near the entrance to their building in Hyde Park. Because some people mix up authority with permission, he said finally. They think a badge makes them bigger, smarter, safer. And when they meet someone who doesn't flinch, they feel small. The car stopped. The driver opened Anita's door. She stepped out, then turned to face her father. Do I have to keep proving myself every time? He stepped out beside her, put a hand lightly on her shoulder. You don't have to prove anything, but when the moment comes, you show them who they're talking to. Anita didn't smile, not quite, but there was something steady in her eyes now. Then let them talk. But the real weight of what happened, what it meant for her, her name, and her future, would hit later, when a simple post she wrote reached 1 million overnight. The next morning felt heavier than usual. Anita sat at the breakfast bar, moving yogurt around she wasn't really eating. Her phone buzzed every few seconds, and alerts kept flashing. Twitter threads, TikTok videos, messages from strangers calling her brave, classy, beautiful. A few, of course, were mean. Always are. She didn't answer any of them. The video had gone viral overnight. Just 90 seconds of fuzzy phone footage. A young black woman standing tall, facing an officer at O'Hare. The way she didn't raise her voice. The way she didn't back down. But that wasn't what everyone kept talking about. They were talking about when Marcus Benson walked through the doors. The shift in power. How Patterson's body language changed the second he realized who he was dealing with. Anita checked her feed again. Skyway had shared their official statement. Her name wasn't in it, but everyone already knew. Her father came into the room quietly, dressed like he always was in the morning. Nice pants, dress shirt, no tie yet. He poured coffee and sat next to her. You okay? He asked. I guess. That doesn't sound like a yes. She breathed out. I don't know how I should feel. Part of me wants to forget it happened, but another part wants to say more. Say everything I didn't get to say yesterday. Marcus stirred his coffee. So say it. To who? He looked at her like she already knew the answer. People are going to twist this either way, she said. They will. They'll say I played the rich girl card. Some will. They'll say I embarrassed him just to prove a point. And they'll be wrong. She leaned on the counter. But what's the point of always being calm? What's the point of biting your tongue, standing straight, doing everything right? If someone can still stop you, judge you, try to put you in a place they think you belong. Marcus let the silence stay. I used to think, she continued, that if I was perfect enough, I could avoid this. That if I dressed right, spoke clearly, had all the right answers, maybe people would just let me live. He didn't interrupt. He knew this wasn't for him. It was for her. But yesterday, it didn't matter. I did everything right, and he still saw me as a threat, or a problem, or a mistake. Marcus nodded. That's because his eyes weren't trained to see the real you, just the version he thought he already knew. Anita swallowed. So what now? Her father reached over and tapped her phone. You've got their attention. Say something worth hearing. That afternoon, Anita sat at her desk and opened her laptop. Not for drama, not for likes, just truth. She typed slowly. No hashtags, no edits, no filter. Yesterday I flew home from Boston. I flew first class because my father gave me the ticket for graduating early from my program. At O'Hare, I was pulled aside for no reason and questioned by a man who saw my presence as a problem. I've been taught to stay calm, to respond, not react. I did, but I shouldn't have had to. My father is a businessman, a leader. He's also a father who raised me to know my worth. That officer didn't know who I was, and that's the problem. Because respect shouldn't come from who your father is. It should come from who you are, from the moment you walk in. I didn't post this for attention. I posted it because I'm tired of having to be composed in situations where I shouldn't be targeted in the first place. We don't want special treatment. We want equal treatment. Dignity has no dress code. She hit post. Closed the laptop. No dramatic music. No fireworks. Just truth. Her father passed behind her a few minutes later, putting his hand briefly on her shoulder. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. But the real moment of clarity, what this would mean for Anita and others like her, would come in the days that followed, when strangers started sharing stories of their own. 3 days later, Anita's inbox was full, not from companies or news people, though there were plenty of those, but from regular people. Real people. Dozens of emails. Hundreds of messages and voice notes that broke mid-sentence. Young women. Older men. Flight attendants. Nurses. College students. A retired Marine. All saying the same thing different ways. It happened to me too. There was no single story. One woman told about being pulled aside at Dallas airport while her white coworker walked right through. A high school student wrote about being followed by mall security for wearing a hoodie while carrying a violin case. One man shared how he'd flown with his daughter for the first time last year, and the gate agent checked their tickets 3 times before letting them on, after every other family had already boarded. Some messages were just a sentence or two. Some were long. Some were angry. Some were tired. But they all meant the same thing. Anita hadn't expected this. She didn't want to be a symbol, like she told her father. But symbols are often just people who stand tall at the right moment. And whether she liked it or not, people had seen something in her that day that they needed for themselves. Skyway's board put out a second statement, this time with her name. Marcus didn't write it, but he read it before it went public. Anita did too. We thank Miss Anita Benson for her calm and clear thinking during an incident that should never have happened. While we're sorry about what took place, we see the chance it gives us to show our values, not just in words but in actions. Anita didn't share it. She didn't need to. Her original message had already been shared by teachers, community leaders, even a few famous people. But it wasn't the attention that moved her. It was the feeling of being understood, the quiet knowing that she wasn't alone. By the end of the week, the officer involved, Derek Patterson, was put on leave while they reviewed what happened. Rumors spread online. Some said he'd been reported before. Others said he filed a complaint about how the incident was handled. But the facts were the same. He stopped the wrong woman for the wrong reason, and now he was facing the right consequences. Anita's final moment of understanding came on a Thursday night. She sat outside on her parents' patio, the sky still light as evening came. Her mom had just gone inside to finish a call. Marcus sat beside her, a glass of iced tea making water on the table between them. Anita looked up at the stars, thinking out loud. I keep going back to that moment, when he said, "You don't look like someone who flies first class." Marcus raised an eyebrow. What would that person look like? I don't know. Someone quieter. Someone less visible. Her father was quiet for a second, then leaned in slightly. You know what I think. What? I think you look exactly like someone who belongs in first class. You just don't look like the version he made up in his head. And that's not your problem. Anita smiled at that. A real one this time. You did good, he said softly. She nodded. So did you. He looked amused. I didn't do anything. You showed up. That was everything. They sat there a while longer, neither rushing to speak, no matter who's looking. Then she closed the app, turned off her screen, and let the silence have the last word. Life lesson. Don't let anyone make you feel small. Who you are is all the proof you need. If you believe that, subscribe because we've got more stories that need to be heard.